in this video we're going to show you the test procedure for the Chameleon PIC, which is very similar to the Chameleon A-bar, but there'll be a separate video for the Chameleon A-bar. So your test setup will consist of a PC computer running Windows, where you're going to have previously loaded the software for the propeller tool, as well as the PIC-Kit 2 programmer, and PuTTY, which is a serial terminal communications program. So that's all going to be preloaded on your Windows machine. Over here to the left I've got a VGA monitor, which you're going to use to test the VGA output, and over here we've got an NTSC monitor to test the NTSC composite video output. Alright, so the test rig that we're going to have is right here. It's got VGA, composite video and audio, the PS2 mouse here, USB port which is connected to the PC along with 9-volt power, along with the PIC-Kit 2 programmer right here. Now, the first thing is we're going to put this little header into the PIC-Kit 2 programmer, and we're going to put it with a short side there, right in like that, so that we have these 6 pins like this. And this is going to help us plug it into the Chameleon easier. Alright, here we have the Chameleon PIC, and a couple things that we notice here is on the Chameleon, here's the programming port, the 6-pin programming port right there, a little different from the A-bar. And then we've got the on-off switch here, which off is to the right and on is to the left. And right here we have the serial communications selection switch. Up allows the propeller chip to communicate through the USB serial port, and down allows the PIC chip to communicate through the USB. And we're going to be switching that as we go. But we're going to start it off in the up position so we can program the propeller chip. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load this Chameleon PIC into the test harness by connecting all the different connectors. So we'll connect the VGA port, we'll connect the video, audio, PS2, alright, the power. We're going to take our PIC-Kit programmer, and here's the programming port right down here, and we make sure we align it with all 6 pins and plug it in there. And we're going to have to kind of set it like that, but that's okay, at an angle. So now we have all the interfaces, and the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to plug in the USB port. Now, as I plug this USB port in, the computer is going to detect that there's a new USB device connected, even if the power is off. So we're going to connect the USB port. First we're going to turn the power on. And you can see the green power light is illuminating over here. Now we plug in the USB port, and as we do that, a couple lights blinked, and then you can see over here the computer is detecting the USB port. Now sometimes you'll see this dialog and sometimes you won't. So as it detects that and installs the hardware, now of course you previously installed the FTDI drivers, or they're on your Windows machine. If you've got Service Pack 2 or 3, you usually will have the FTDI USB virtual drivers. But in any case, we're going to go to the Device Manager, and inside the Device Manager we're going to go to Ports, COM and LPT, and then we're going to look for where the new serial port was loaded. And here it is right here, USB serial port at COM52. And we're going to make note of that when we get to the testing portion, because we're going to have to create a connection with COM52 to talk to the Chameleon. So we're going to go ahead and minimize that. So the first step is we need to load the firmware into the propeller chip. So we're going to launch the propeller tool. I've now launched the propeller tool, and here's the interface. You're going to navigate into the propeller driver directory with your firmware, and you're going to select cam default to drive 111.spin. You're going to load this file in. It'll become the top level file. Make sure it's the top level file and you're not selected one of these other subordinate files. Once you have this is the top level file, you can say it's selected as the top. We're going to go to Run, Compile Current, Load EEPROM F11, and we're going to select that and click it. And as we do that, it starts downloading. It located the Chameleon on the serial port of COM52. It's downloading to it, programming the EEPROM, and then as it programs, immediately the driver will execute. And now on the NTSC screen, you can see the NTSC screen is now active and has video on it, and I'm going to hit reset here. As I hit reset, you're also going to see down here on the board, you're going to see this LED blink 3 times. I hit reset, and the LED will blink 3 times indicating it's okay, and also the board will make noise. It'll go doo-doo-doo. You'll hear that sound. Sometimes it's louder and sometimes it's softer. This monitor is a little old. Now, over here on the VGA monitor, you'll also see the display. So the VGA monitor has this video output on it as well, showing that the driver's initialized, and now the propeller chip has its firmware loaded and it's ready to go. Alright, so now that that's happened, now what we need to do is we need to load the firmware on the AVR chip. On the PIC chip, excuse me. So we're going to load the firmware on the PIC chip. So this is a little bit simpler process. So now what we need to do, okay, so now that we're done with the propeller chip firmware. Now we're going to load the firmware onto the PIC processor, and we're going to use the PIC-Kit2 programmer tool to do that. So I've got that preloaded, and you'll have had it loaded on your computer. And here it is right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to import hex, and we're going to load the firmware file in. And the name of the file is campictextprogram1.hex. We load that, open it, and of course as you're testing you will have already had this in your tool, so you won't have to do this every time. It'll already be in here. And then once it's loaded in, ready to go, now we're going to click the write button, and that'll program the chip. So we're going to click write and download the firmware. And as you can see up here in the display, it's saying writing the device. You can see the progress bar going. It's verifying the device, various configuration bits, and you'll see the green programming successful. Now, as it's doing this, it'll continually reset the Chameleon PIC, and the displays, the NTSC display and the VGA display will constantly reset as it's doing the programming. Now, at this point, we've got the PIC programmed, we've got the propeller chip program, the firmware is ready to go, the board is good to go, and a couple things you want to make note of is, of course, every time you hit reset, you should see that little LED blink 3 times. You'll hear the tones, which you're not able to hear right now because the speakers aren't loud enough, but you will hear tones, so make sure you listen to those through the audio port. And then you're always going to see the NTSC driver displays come up on NTSC and VGA. Now we're ready to do the serial test and actually run the test. So the first thing we want to do is we want to come here to the serial selection switch, switch into the down position because we want the PIC to be able to communicate out the USB port back to the computer. So make sure that's in the down position. Go ahead and hit reset. Never hurts to hit reset a bunch of times. Now we're going to load our terminal program, which is called PuTTY. And if you recall from previously, we remembered that this connected to port 52. So I actually have a session that's already COM52, 115.200, and N81 as these settings. So this is all ready to go. So now I'm just going to click the open button. And you can see, we'll put this over here so it's easy to see, that we've got this blank screen. Now what I'm going to do is hit reset on the Chameleon, and when I hit reset, immediately the serial terminal comes back up and it starts communicating. So now we're talking to the PIC. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the test. The test consists of a couple of different sections. One is a flash test that tests the flash memory. Then the other is a mouse and video test. The test, a single program will do all the tests for you, and you just have to hit return. So first we type in test in the keyboard, and then we hit the enter key. And now it begins and it tests the flash memory on the Chameleon PIC. And as you can see down here, it said flash memory test passed. And the next test it wants to do is the PS2 mouse test. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the enter key on the keyboard, and now it's going to run the next test. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, and now backing away, you'll see there's an image on the NTSC screen. There's a new image, and you'll see the numbers 0 through 6 printed in white text. There'll be an X in the middle of the screen, and there'll be green up top, blue in the middle, and that's what the NTSC screen should look like. Now over here on the VGA monitor, something similar, except this time there's going to be colored numbers. So 0 through 6, we've got yellow, magenta, we've got cyan, we've got green, and we've got red, and then we've got a red X here. Alright? So that's the image that you should get. Now we're going to back away, and now the whole idea of this test is to test the mouse and test various communications and NTSC and VGA graphics. So I've created a little drawing program, so as I move the mouse, both screens at the same time will mimic what I'm doing with the mouse as I draw. So I move the mouse around, and we can see that both screens are mimicking my mouse motions and drawing this little image. And that's all you want to test. You just want to verify that you can draw. If you'd like, you can hit the left mouse button. It clears the screen off, and you can kind of start again. Alright, when you're done and verify that the mouse seems like it's working, we're done with that. We come back to the PC, and we come back to our test program, and all we need to do is hit enter. And we're done. The test is complete. Come back over to your system. Go ahead and hit reset one more time. Turn the power off. Unplug your programmer. Be careful, keeping that header like that so you can use it again. And then unplug it from the harness. Be careful of the VGA especially. And now you have your Chameleon PIC ready to go. Go ahead and reinspect that one more time and put it inside of the anti-static bag for shipping. And that completes our testing of the Chameleon PIC. Thank you for watching.